attending our 5th annual National POW Recognition Day event. Since 1989, the third Friday in September has been set aside to remember our POWs and MIAs and to renew our ongoing efforts to locate and return those MIAs yet to be recovered. So we're going to have 3 panels here, consisting of POWs and POW family members who will share their remembrances about that day 50 years ago when they or their loved ones came home. So panel 1, Colonel Bob Lilac, Kathy Hoffman, Kathy Long, and Sandra Hammer. Would you please come forward and have a seat? Okay, first we're going to discuss a POW who did not come home. Colonel Norm Schmidt was an F-104 pilot who was shot down over North Vietnam in 1966. Bob, would you come up, please, and tell us a little about the Colonel and his wife? Our display here now is in large part due to him.
The F-104 that's off to the right here with the Starfighter logo on the side is an airplane that is dedicated to Norm Schmidt. On the 1st of September 1966, Norm and I were flying on a mission. Actually, he was slightly in front of me. He was shot down by anti-aircraft fire over the Mugia Pass in the southern part of North Vietnam. I got airborne, found out Norm was shot down. We sent 2 Sandys in below the weather. Sandy's an A-1 Skyraider propeller airplane to try to keep the bad guys off of Norm. They tried for a while. The first guy went in, Herb Nichols went in, Sandy 1, was shot down and was killed also. Killed. The second guy was shot up pretty bad. He came up out of the weather. I semi-escorted him back toward the confidant where he had to jump out. We didn't get Norm before the bad guys got him. That was September 1st, 1966. On the 31st of August, 1967, it's about 364 and a half days later, Norm was taken away for interrogation in Hanoi Hill. Didn't come out. He was tortured to death. The museum made a decision in 2014 when we acquired this F-104 to make it a tribute airplane to Norm. So we painted the airplane up in the same colors of the airplane that Norm was flying. It's actually the same serial number, 70913 F-104C that he was shot down in. And the museum did a great job in dedicating the airplane. TV and newspapers covered it. A gal up in Portland, Oregon, by the name of Christy Schnabel, saw the coverage, and she said, "Oh my God, I was wearing Norm's bracelet back when he was a POW." She contacted the museum, got a hold of Dave Thompson. Dave got a hold of me and he said, "Bob, Christy said she would like to get the bracelet to the family of Norm Schmidt." I contacted Marie Schmidt, Norm's widow, who was a teacher up in Apple Valley. I said, "Marie, we got a bracelet, original bracelet was worn back when Norm was a POW." She said, "Bob, you wouldn't believe it, but Norm's grandson, Norm Schmidt III, has been looking for an original bracelet that was worn back when his grandpa was a POW." The end of that story was Christy Schnabel came from Portland, Oregon. Norm Schmidt III, Norm's grandson, came down from Missoula, Montana. Marie came out from Apple Valley with her 2 daughters, and we had this big tear-jerking ceremony here at the museum where she gave the bracelet to the grandson. She also brought other bracelets. And thank God that Dave Thompson, with his initiative, said, "We've got to do something about this, Bob." So he took the bracelet program, and this is the result. But that's the start of the program, and that's how the whole bracelet wall got started to build up over 2,000 bracelets now. Thank you.
Kathy Hoffman, would you come up, please? Kathy, you put together a really nice tribute to Colonel Schmidt. Can you tell us about how you did that and why?
I was one of those college students back in 1971 and 72 who had led a guarded life and didn't know anything about what was going on in Vietnam. My father protected us, would not let us watch the news. So my sister and I were the naive children going into college not knowing a thing until the lady showed up with the POW bracelets. I paid my $1, and for 50 years, you want to read what it says?
It says Colonel Norris.
Colonel Norm Schmidt, 1 September 1966, the day he was shot down.
And it's never left me. So tonight, before I go farther, what I'd like to do is donate the original bracelet to the museum. So when Dr. Thompson asked me if I would like to visit and attend this ceremony tonight, I live in Tampa, Florida, and he and I made contact, 16 or 17 months ago when I was looking to find a place to donate my bracelet. So we've been in contact ever since, and I started researching more and more about Colonel Schmidt because back in the day, there was no information given to anybody. So last summer in 2022, my daughter and my grandchildren went to DC, and I got my first etching from the wall of Colonel Schmidt, and I started getting more and more articles, and I shared his story to my gated community that has our own Facebook page. It opened the floodgates of 1,100 homes in there to people who also wore bracelets, also marched for the soldiers, also fought in Vietnam. And I got all kinds of comments about their stories, and I decided to put it together to share it here. So I made a book, a little scrapbook of Colonel Schmidt and how his story has traveled with my friends and family for 50 years. And so I sent it to him, so it's here for everybody to see. But what I'd like to do is share the last page of that scrapbook. Dear Colonel Schmidt, I know. This has been a difficult journey for me, recreating events in my life that have reminded me of you. You in the form of my POW bracelet that's been on my arm with me since 1972, have been continuously in my thoughts and prayers throughout these years. I don't know if I'll ever have the privilege of meeting your family members, but please know that they have also been in my prayers throughout. My daddy and you were almost the same age, only 12 months apart. Sometimes I look at Daddy and feel saddened that you weren't able to experience your life in peace, surrounded by your friends and family, had you been able to retire. I will be eternally grateful for your service and sacrifice to the United States of America. When Memorial Day comes every year, you're the one that I remember and that I honor. Thank you for being a part of my life. I will never forget. With sincerity and love, Kathy.